Scott McEntee, a former advisor in Donald Trump's White House, who is now a senior member of Project 2025, has a little bit of a side gig in the form of a dating app called The Right Stuff. It is a conservative right-wing dating app. Talked about it before and how much of a disaster it is, a garbage fire, a train wreck. Now, this app has more of a insidious purpose than just robbing lonely conservative men of their disposable income. And I'll get to that. But first, back in 2022, the Daily Beast had reported that even young conservative women have been avoiding the website. Outreach from Kayleigh McEnany, who was being paid to promote it, they avoided, okay? In fact, 2 Republican staffers in Washington, D.C. said that many young conservative women ignored her outreach and have instead jeeringly passed around screenshots of her messages to group chats. So they're just making fun of her. When conservative women who get free access to this website are turning it down, you know there's a problem. They don't want to date conservative men. As one college Republican recently complained to a right-wing student website, women on the app are eligible for a free premium subscription, which goes to show how few women sign up in the first place. Ouch. I wonder why. Very curious, right? So now, it's not a surprise the marketing for this website is all male-focused, since women are able to use the service for free. It's the men who have to pay, right? Now, as Tim Miller of The Bulwark explains, McEntee puts out videos selling the fantasy of being a man on a date with a woman who cannot wait to hear your most despicable opinions. So, I mean, that right there. He writes, the conceit of these videos, which are shared widely on Instagram and TikTok, is McEntee on a date, and the POV is you and the camera are on a date with him. So the audience takes the role of the wrapped woman listening to McEntee's conspiracy theories about false flags. Or you're positioned as an adoring lady silently soaking in McEntee's rant, accusing drag queens of being pedophiles while he houses a hamburger. Wow. Sounds absolutely riveting. That's why salon writer Amanda Marcotte calls the website a pure grift. She writes, this appears to be a fantasy for MAGA men. The dream is a woman who will do that for you, and if you can't have that in reality, you can watch these videos and pretend to be the guy on the date. Bleeding nonsense while a woman listens. How sad. Wow, that is sad and pathetic. No wonder there is very, very few women on that website. And by the way, that's actually by design, okay? So from a business standpoint, you gotta understand that the longer these lonely men stay on their website, the more they strike out, the more money it makes, okay, in subscriptions, all right? So that's the insidious thing about it, right? But, you know, they also have to sell this idea that, oh, no, if you just stay just another month, right, a little bit longer, Ms. Right may be coming along any moment now. You just got to wait for it. Put yourself out there. Now, what's funny, though, is they encourage men to be terrible so that they don't get dates, so that they don't leave, but then blame the women and blame, you know, feminism, whatever, what have you, for the men striking out. So you see how this grift happens, right? I mean, they encourage the men to be terrible, to adopt awful politics, and then scare all the women away. And when that happens, of course, the guys are conditioned to blame feminism, pronouns, trans people, and the way that they're trained to do that is because you have the very people who are ripping them off, telling them that that's the problem. No, you're not the problem. You're totally fine. No, I don't see what woman would want to turn you down. You're an alpha male. Let me tell you what. You are the pick of the litter. And guess what? It's just all them feminazis. That's the real problem. Yes. So these guys are ripping off those people, those men, and keeping them lonely and angry. And why would you want that other than from a business standpoint to have them keep paying? Well, there's another reason. It turns out lonely straight men are more easily drawn down the alt-right pipeline. That's right. According to Elle Reeve, author of the book Black Pill, How I Witnessed the Darkest Corners of the Internet Come to Life, Poison Society, and Capture American Politics, she said that being lonely is a big entryway. In fact, she said a big entry point is, why won't women be with me? She also points out that the so-called new white nationalist movement is highly influenced by incel culture, or involuntary celibate. It means that feminism, she says, has doomed them to be virgins forever because in the natural order of things, less attractive women would marry them. But now, these days, they don't have to do that. Now, Reeve also said that she had spoken to an old school former neo-Nazi, one of the skinhead types, and that guy was pretty shocked by the current form of the alt-right. Reeve said that he had seen himself as a protector of white women from people of color. Okay, so that, again, that's part of the old school racism. The black people, they're coming after our women. They're going to pollute them and, all that weird racist nonsense, right? So he saw himself as like, no, I'm going to protect white women. Whereas now, white nationalists are apparently joking about beating up women and how they all deserve to be abused. And again, you hear some of the stories from some of the women who are in the alt-right movement saying, oh my God, I can't believe how terrible they treat us, how badly they talk to us and everything. Oh my God, it's terrible. And then, of course, you have the stories of alleged abuse in some of these from some of these trad wife influencers that are online that are saying, I didn't think that it was going to be like this. It just kind of reminds me of like some of the, when ISIS was, still a thing in the Middle East, where you had some women going over there to serve in ISIS because of their like recruitment videos. And they're like, oh my God, they basically made me a slave. That's not what I was sold. Well, no kidding, it's ISIS. Okay. Yes, it's Islamic fundamentalism. In this case, you've got Christian fundamentalists, you've got white nationalists. Okay. They're all kind of this big Venn diagram of awful. All right. So that's, by the way, these are the people that McKenty is trying to create. He is trying to create through his website more lonely white nationalists. Okay. By having them, like, again, you take a young person who's like conservative curious, right? And it's like, I'm a bit conservative on these issues, I think corporations are great, and the fossil fuels are awesome, and I just want to find a nice girlfriend, somebody who's a little bit more conservative, might want to wait until marriage to have sex. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting that. As long as it's you making that personal decision for yourself, whatever. I don't care. They go on this website to meet a conservative woman, and suddenly they're angry because they keep striking out because there's no women there, or very, very few, and they're being baited along, and then of course you have this fantasy of like, oh, see, the reason these women exist, but they have been crushed by feminism. Okay, and so the reason that you're striking out is not because you're saying horrible things and all that. No, it's feminism. That's it. It's the women's, it's the gays, it's the transes. See, that's their fault, not your fault at all. So they get angry, lonely, or they go from lonely and to angry to furious to then they're in white nationalist rallies. I mean, that's what happens. It turns out that these people, McKenty, are the ones destroying men and marriages, by the way, future marriages. And they're doing it in order to make more rabid right-wingers, as well as to make money. You got all this talk from people like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, right? They're also making money off stuff like this. And they're also saying things like the left has destroyed, men, the feminism is cancer, et cetera, et cetera. Turns out all of that is projection. Yes, it's projection. Making more right-wingers and making them rich. It turns out the right wing has destroyed men, the right wing has destroyed families, and they're not done yet, by the way. The policy agenda of Project 2025 includes things like gutting public education, eliminating access to reproductive health care, going after birth control, further restricting abortions, etc. That's actually going to put more stress on communities and families and actually reduce the earning potentials of, men as well. And so that's a problem. All right. Huge problem. All of this is a grift. Okay. The conservative dating sites, a grift. And you could say, well, a lot of these normal dating sites are also a bit grifty. Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and defend that, because there are certainly some dating sites that have also apparently juice the numbers of women, or have introduced fake profiles and stuff to get men to continue to subscribe. But none of them have this right-wing bent to it, right? Which is specifically trying to bubble men, young men, and these young men are just going to come away even more angry and more radicalized, which again helps the conservative white nationalist agenda, the Agenda 2020 or Project 2025. And so, yes, this does radicalize men. Now, of course, the solution here isn't to force women to be with these men. No, obviously, that's ridiculous. No, what it is that you've got to, I mean, for one, I think you need to, society needs to be there for men too. Okay, we do have feelings. Okay, and you know we do get lonely, and so offering support, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, women just being there to have sex. No, that's not. It's not about that. It is about being emotionally available for people, and I'm talking like as friends, as male friends to your male friend. If you see your male friend suffering, then yeah, the right thing would be to help them, to offer help, to listen, to be a good friend, not to tell them to man up, sack up, stop whining. No, that's incorrect. And again, men do need support. Men do have feelings, and you got to like that's the thing that frustrates me so much about this like toxic masculinity. Masculinity itself is not a bad thing, but the toxic kind is. That's why it's toxic. Okay, and the toxic, an example of that is, hey, telling a guy who's having a hard time, who's having a rough time with life, just to sack up and stop whining and stop being a little bitch. Like, that's toxic. That doesn't help him at all. Okay? And so being there, being a good friend, helping them out, listening to them and their concerns, that's being a good friend. Okay? Another thing to help young men is to expose people like McKenty and Peterson and all them for who they are, which is grifters, scam artists, hucksters, and people who are preying on lonely young men and driving them to the right, because there is this right-wing radical pipeline. And again, having empathy. And as a parent, if you're a parent to a young man, try to teach them to be the kind of person that will be a good partner later in life. Okay? To be a good partner, just to set a good example, of what a healthy relationship looks like. And I think that goes a hell of a long way into teaching people the right ways to approach relationships, and so that later on, they don't suffer, they don't become lonely, and they don't fall down this massively right-wing pipeline. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.